Good evening and welcome to the Federal City Council meeting for February 17th of 2026. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everyone. It's great to see everybody. All right, we've got, first, under the Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report, that's myself and our new Fire Chief, Ryan Woody. We'll talk about that in a moment. That's over at Station 62, the headquarters. But let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you've been there yet, but Dave's Hot Chicken is open. They had the grand opening on February 6th of 2026. It's right behind Dick's Burgers on the southwest corner of the mall. It is absolutely phenomenal. And in fact, actually, you can't see it right there, but barely. But right by the front door was a line of people waiting to get in. And on the inside is the interior. It's a great location. It was so good. No, normally, we'll go to a grand opening and I'll go back a couple weeks later and try it out again. I went back the very next week. I dragged Bill Vadino over there and had lunch. And what's really cool is they actually bring in graffiti artists at their different locations, and they just set them loose inside. And if you get a chance, go over to Dave's Hot Chicken. It's absolutely phenomenal. You may have to wait a little bit because it's really popular, but it's worth the wait. So anyway, check it out. And no, I'm not getting a commission from Dave's, so we can turn to the next slide. I'll try not to go there too much. Okay, we had a chamber luncheon. There's myself with Vicki Chenoweth, who's a local realtor in town, but also a huge help this past year with our farmers market, along with Carla and the entire family. We had Steel Lake Neighborhood Block Watch right there on Steel Lake. It was absolutely really appreciated, all the community members. Councilmember Hamilton, how many people do you think were there?
Probably about 35 neighbors was what I got RSVPs for.
Very good. And I want to let you know that every once in a while we'll get called in, myself and the chief, and we'll bring in other folks. I'm thinking yearly, I think Westridge HOA has it at Silver Lake Elementary. If you have a group of neighbors that you want the chief and I to make a presentation, and also we've got facilitators that help set these up. We would love to come talk to your group, your HOA. Just coordinate either with the chief's office or my office, and we'll make that happen. But it was a great evening, and we just heard about the concerns of the community, gave us an opportunity to talk as well. And like I said, the Chamber Luncheon, that's at the Performing Arts and Events Center, and just hearing about all of the great things that our chamber is up to. Next. Okay, we had the drive-through recycling event that was down there at the Masonic Lodge, where the South King Tool Library. Amanda does and her entire team do such a great job. That was just one of the events that they have there. They do all kinds of repair things, and in fact, actually, when I we've got on these Christmas ornaments that we have, I actually broke two legs off this elk that we've had, this reindeer that we've had for years and years. And the first thing I thought of is, I'm going to go to a repair thing where Amanda and the tool library is, so I'll get this fixed. Now that was the plan until we had it precariously placed for a couple more weeks, and the cat knocked it over and the back two legs fell off. So it's done. We'll just have to start from fresh. But the intent was there. I want to go to a repair thing, and they do great things there. They've got reused or slightly used clothes. They repair all kinds of things. They've got knife sharpeners. They do all kinds of really cool things there, and they've got a tool library for the community that you could check out. And if you don't want to go buy a brand new tool for one thing around the house, go check it out with the tool library. And again, it's over there like up 341st and off of, how would you describe?
By the Masonic.
It's right where the Masonic Lodge is in town. It's kind of tucked back there.
Skating rink.
Yeah, right.
Not easy to find.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but it's kind of on a back area, but it's
Behind where all the tires are.
yeah.
Behind where all the tires are on Pack Highway, it's behind there.
What she said, absolutely. Okay, then we had a big meet and greet with our South King Fire. What's that?
16, not that.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, very
You're
good.
right.
All right, so we had the South King Fire Chief meet and greet, and really like our new chief, Ryan Woody. Really just a consummate career professional. It's going to be great to see him, take the reins of our South King Fire. They do such a good job for all of us, and it was great to see the community really welcome him. And he has had numerous assignments before, but the great thing is, he's really originally from the area and lives in northeast Tacoma. So just a hop, skip, and a jump from Federal Way. All right, next. Okay, we had, I went over along with some of our staff and our emergency manager, Kevin Pelly, and Layla with Human Services, and we were talking with the Fusion staff. Now, Fusion has a building that's right next on Pacific Highway, very close to where where the post office is, and right next to Shag, just south of where the Shag is, at 328th and Pacific Highway. And one of the things I say to David, their executive director, all the time is Fusion saves lives. And Fusion does such an amazing job for our community. And they have been in the lobby of that reused hotel. They've been taking in people from the cold and housing them there. We've been providing funding, and they've got staff. We provide some assistance as well. And when we had that really brutal cold spell about 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks ago, they really stepped up. And then actually what happened was part of their facility wasn't able to be used because they had a fire at that location. And so they helped us find a great partner in Calvary Lutheran Church. And that's where a lot of the homeless people went. And we had well over 100 people. Kevin, from the back of the room, how many people do you think we served or that were served?
About a total of 100 is great.
Yeah. And that's really, it just gets dangerously cold. We're going to be in better shape when we get first that hotel for the extended stay and that transitional housing there, but also when the Red Lion gets completed down there by, where the Denny's is at 348. We just need to make sure that the least of that the folks that are homeless or don't have anywhere to go in the cold have a place to go for life safety. And also making sure it's a spectrum, really, just making sure that they can enter the system and move into self-sufficiency. So we were there to say a hearty thank you to Fusion for their partnership and what they do. And they work hard every day. And that the location there is more of a transitional for families and transitional housing, but they're working hard every day for everybody in the community. Also later that day, I was the guest of the Kiwanis of Federal Way, and they meet at the restaurant, the Mexican restaurant at 348. Puerto Vallarta. And it was very nice, and just talked about all the things. They got a little bit of a preview of the State of the City address, which we'll talk about in a minute, but that's really one of the longstanding organizations in our community, and they do a lot in our community. We're looking forward to the Salmon Bake and the golf tournament and stuff that they do.
71 years.
71 years that they've been doing the Salmon Bake, which is
71 years as a club, 70
Oh.
years as a cemetery.
that's right. Actually, you want to just say that?
71 years as a club, the Federal Way Kiwanis Club, and this year, the fourth Friday in July is our 70th annual Salmon Bake. And we want to see everybody there. It'll be a big, big party.
The city's a big sponsor of that. It's just really, I don't know how they do it every year, but they find the best day of the year to be right there on the lake and the music, and it's just magic. Next. Okay, upcoming events in 2 days. We're going to be at the Performing Arts and Event Center for the State of the City. I'm going to do my best. The theme is A New Dawn, A New Day. There's a really cool song at the beginning. I would encourage you to get there so you could see at the very beginning. That way the title will make a little sense. I mean, it makes sense anyway. A new dawn, a new day. We'll talk about that during the State of the City, but there's a connection with a cool song we're going to play right at the very beginning, and we've got some slideshows, and we've got really some great news to share about what's going on in our city. Okay, then we've got the Family Prom at the Federal Way Community Center. That's on February 28th. John, can you explain to folks what exactly that is?
Sure. The Family Prom is a chance for the entire family, no matter what your family looks like, to come out and enjoy a date out with whatever family members would like to come. Just enjoy a wonderful date-like experience, dance, have fun, nice refreshments. It's a good time to be had by all.
Very good. Okay, thank you. All right, next. Okay, again, the Repair Cafe. Unfortunately, my reindeer, my elk didn't make it that far, but we'll be thinking of him. Repair Cafe at South King Tool Library. If you got something sitting around the house that you think maybe somebody could fix this, don't break it again. Bring it in and get them to work on it. And then we've got Kicking It Federal Way, June 19th through the 21st. And Meredith, you want to explain what that is real quick? Lee?
Sure. So Kickin' It is a 3-day community festival that is going to be celebrating FIFA World Cup. It includes watch parties. It's going to be at the Performing Arts and Events Center, both inside. They'll be on the big screen there in the theater, but also in the areas around there. And then right outside of the PAC, there'll be a community stage with all sorts of other acts, activities, some turf, some opportunities to really just celebrate soccer here in our community, and sort of the global event that's happening.
Very good. Okay, speaking of the PAC as well, this past Saturday, it was on Valentine's Day, and I had to explain to Wendy a couple of times, it was only for 15, I was only going to be there for a little while on Valentine's Day, but on Valentine's Day at the Performing Arts and Events Center, it was a packed room for the Songs of Black Folk, and it was absolutely packed, absolutely fantastic. They did a great job, and it was really just very nice for the entire crowd. And so it was a great Valentine's Day for those in attendance and overall. Okay, I believe that's my report. Very good. Thank you very much. Now we are on to Council Committee and Regional Committee report. First, we've got Land Use and Transportation Committee, which is Councilmember Walsh.
Yes, we will be, our next meeting will be March, I should have had this right out here, 2 weeks from yesterday. March 2nd, right here at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And nothing else to report.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Sessoms.
We discussed several action items in the committee at our last meeting, which was February 10th. We approved a resolution for the 2025 South King County Housing and Homelessness Partners Housing Capital Fund recommendation. We authorized to go to bid for the Federal Way Community Center Pool Project. We approved the interlocal agreement with DSHS for respite in community settings. We also worked to approve the Parks Commission work plan. We approved the allocation for funding and authorized contract resolution for Federal Way TV broadcast room mini split HVAC unit replacement. We also accepted or worked to approve the acceptance of the For Culture Equipment for Organizations grant. We also heard an update on the TC3 CDS funding request, the Civic Plaza proposal use. And today at the committee meeting, there was a consensus for the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, Public Safety Committee to take on the flag policy. As everyone knows, that is a very contentious issue, but we're going to look at what other cities are doing, work with our city attorney, Mr. Ryan Call, and then present to the full council for discussion and further action. Finally, everyone is invited to our next Parks Committee meeting, which is Tuesday, March 10th, 5 p.m. I hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, now we're on to Finance, Economic Development, and Regional Affairs Committee. Councilmember Kochmar.
Councilmember Honda, do you want me to go? Okay, our next meeting will be February 24th at 5 p.m. here in City Hall, and it will be an important thing to think of this year because it's a budget year. And so we'll be discussing, not Tuesday night, but we will be discussing the budget, particularly starting in June, and then we'll be adopting it. It'll be the budget for the biennial budget for the next 2 years. So we'll be adopting it by probably about late November. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. The LTAC is going to meet on Tuesday, February the 10th. And for that, we've been reviewing applications, and we have the application timeline is closed. And so we have about 5 applications for the committee to review and make a decision and determination on what the funding allocation is going to be like and how much, and then it would come to FEDRAC for approval by council. And so, like I said, our next meeting is February 10th. And also, Mayor, can I talk about regional?
Sure, yeah, please.
Also? So, I chair the PIC, which is Public Issues Committee, which represents all 38 cities in King County, except for Seattle. And so there's a lot of things that come out of that committee, regional issues that affect each city. And then also sometimes the cities do support each other. If it doesn't harm me, then I'm willing to support you kind of issues. So, for example, when they talk about airport issues, of course it doesn't affect Bothell, but yet they're going to support what the cities here have or share. But anyway, so last meeting, last week was, there's several topics that were discussed. And so one was defending and advancing immigrant rights in a shifting legal landscape. And so Northwest Immigrant Rights Project did a presentation on that. And then there was also PIC orientation, because there's a lot of committees that come out of that group. And so talked about the orientation, and then they also looked back at what PIC has done so far, and then looking forward to how it's going to look and what the landscape is going to look in the future. And so there's a abbreviated or note from, usually our packets are like 60, 70, 80 pages long, and so they've started at least sending each city an abbreviated note. So I'll share that with the council, and whenever it comes to vote, then I would love to hear back from you, just so I can represent the city well, and Councilmember Sessoms is going to be also on that committee. So thank you for your willingness to be part of it. And with that, I end my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Moore?
Yeah, I think it's really important to note for the public and for those that are watching that it's a pretty big deal that 38 cities elected Councilmember Lydia Assefa Dawson to be the chair of the Public Issues Committee. So I think that's a really huge accomplishment, and I wanted to say thank you for that, because I've been a member of the PIC committee, and those meetings are incredibly important. It's representation at the county level, and I just want to say thank you for your dedication and advocacy.
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, now for the Council President report, Council President Honda.
Thank you. So at the last meeting, last Tuesday, we had a vote that not everyone agrees with. And there was some discussion online and some emails of people asking what the role of the council president is. And RCW Chapter 35 talks about cities and towns and the roles from taxes to water districts to council president or deputy mayor. It's RCW 35A.12.065, and it basically says that a council may elect a member of the council to serve as the deputy mayor, and that the deputy mayor would, I should just read this, to serve in the absence or temporary disability of the mayor, or in lieu thereof, the council may, as the need may arise, appoint any qualified person to serve as mayor pro temp in the absence or temporary disability of the mayor. In the event of the extended excused absence or disability of a council member, the remaining members by majority vote may appoint a council member pro temp to serve during the absence or disability. It was adopted in 1967 and adjusted in 2009. Every city has, well, most cities have council rules. I know of one city that doesn't. And council rules are something that the council adopts over the years of the city. We have council rules, and during our yearly retreat, we usually go through those rules and we discuss them, and sometimes we update them, sometimes we add new ones, sometimes we take them away. In our council rules, in Section 8, we talk about what the council president is to do. Section 10, under council meeting staffing, we talk about what the council president is to do. On 10.1, Section 11, Section 16, we talk about what the council president is to do concerning travel. Section 18, we talk about the council president selection process. Going back to chapter 16, we talk about there are 3 things in which the council president has jobs listed as to do. Chapter 19, we again talk about what the council president is to do. In chapter 20, there are 4 items in which a council president is to do. So there is a role for the council president, and it is listed in our council rules. It doesn't say council president. It is listed throughout the council rules, and these are public if you'd like to read them. It would take way too long to read them, and I'm willing to sit down with anyone and talk to you about it, but we do have roles and responsibilities for the council president. I help out with the senior commission. We formed that in 2019, and I have attended pretty much every meeting. And they meet on the second Wednesday from 2 to 4 here at City Hall. I would like to talk about March 25th at 11:30. They have a senior commission connection. It's at the Federal Way Community Center, and the featured guest will be Marine Hills Garden Club. It's a free event, and a light lunch will be served. And then the big event that the commission does is the Senior Health and Resource Fair. And this year it is on Tuesday, May 12th, from 10 to 1 at the Performing Arts and Events Center. It's a free event, and it's absolutely marvelous. You should go, even if you're not a senior yourself, but you know a senior, or you're going to be a senior one day. It's just a really, really great event. And we usually have to turn away vendors because we can't put all of the vendors who want to attend. So I would encourage you to come to that. We have, as a council, been getting a lot of emails about their property on 320th and First Avenue. They had requested, there was a request for a zoning change. And I would like to ask, if it's all right, Mayor, for Keith Niven to explain what's going on. At this point, we're not supposed to be answering or talking to people talking to us about it because of the liability in case this comes in front of us for a decision. However, there's been an update, and I'd like Director Niven to talk about it, if that's okay?
Yeah, please. Keith?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council President. So the application before the city was to change our comprehensive plan to allow for residential on that property. D.R. Horton was the potential buyer and builder, and that went through Planning Commission, it went through Council Committee. And then D.R. Horton informed us they were withdrawing their application. So we asked why, and they said that the property owner changed their mind, and the property is no longer for sale, at least not to D.R. Horton. So this property owner, I looked at the county assessor records. This property was purchased in 2017. So the property owners have owned it for almost 10 years now. And, whether or not they had an issue with D.R. Horton or something else happened, it is no longer being considered for a redesignation and a rezone. So the council's, I'll leave this up to the city attorney, but the council, I believe, since there's no application pending, are welcome to respond to all emails regarding this property that they receive.
And could you also talk about the request for the city buying the property?
I can do that. And again, not my area of expertise, but I'll go ahead and share what I know. So one of the public comments was that the city should request that this property be purchased by King County Conservation Futures. And so looking at that process, obviously it's with King County. They just closed their applications for 2027. It closed on February 9th. And so the soonest that that property could be considered, if an application were made, would be for 2028. Now, obviously, as the council knows, the public doesn't buy property unless the property owner wants to sell it to the public, unless it goes through an eminent domain process, and this is not that. So the property owner would need to request that this property be purchased for permanent open space, and that has not happened. Looking at some of the recent awards, I can share three with you. King County, the Cougar Mountain Connection, was awarded in 2026. That connects two bigger open space areas on Cougar Mountain in Bellevue. There was a 45-acre park in Kenmore, which is at the confluence of Sammamish River and Swamp Creek. And then a third is a shoreline acquisition in Normandy Park. What those three awards show to me is that there's a significant amount of kind of recreational open space advantage as well as habitat and shoreline value. I'm not sure First and 320th would rise to that level of maybe scoring, but that's not for me to decide. The other thing is there is a full match available through this program for areas that have been designated as opportunity areas, and First and 320th is not one of those areas, so there would need to be a local match if we were to potentially make an application.
Thank you for clarifying that for us. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
So-
Councilmember Kochmar.
So Keith, remind us again, what is it zoned for, and what could it be sold for if they decided to move forward with selling, but not to D.R. Horton?
Sure. So right now, it's zoned for office park. So as the name implies, you could build an office building there. You could also build a church there. So that there's a number of land uses that are allowed within the office park zone, but not residential. Currently, there's not an allowance for residential within that zone, although there's pending legislation in Olympia that might change that. But we'll wait and see how the legislature does with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now we're moving into the public comment, the most important part of the meeting, to hear from the folks we work for, which is you. So we've got quite a number of pink sheets, and what I'll do is I'll name probably about 5 at a time and ask you to queue toward the back, and that way we can move efficiently. Okay, first we've got Nicole Mogul, then Kevin Butler, then Graham Evans, Paul McDaniel, and Adrian Davio. Nicole Mogul. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My name is Nikki. This is Joe. We work here in Federal Way. We are representing the Pure Washington Recovery Navigator Program. We have been serving in the community since 2022. We are co-responders, and we work with law enforcement, EMTs, jails, courts. We also take community-based referrals. We came here this evening to say thank you for allowing us to be present in this community. We really appreciate all of our relationships that we have, not only with the individuals that we work with, but the people that we serve. Thank you to the Federal Way Police Department. We really appreciate them and everything that they do. We just look forward to continuing to strengthen our relationship with everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, and I should clarify, everybody, we all know what the rules are, but green means go, as far as the lights. Green means go, yellow means you've got 30 seconds, red means please stop. Now, if you got maybe one word or two more words, but let's not go on after that. Kevin Butler.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Kevin Butler, and I would like to tell you a little bit about a new ministry that we have started at St. Luke's Lutheran Church here in Federal Way. After approximately 2 years of planning and preparation, last fall we received and commissioned a new comfort dog, a golden retriever named Sharon. Sharon came to us from an organization called Lutheran Church Charities based in Illinois. Since 2008, LCC has placed over 130 comfort dogs across 27 states, with Sharon being the second in the state of Washington and the only one in Western Washington. When Sharon arrived, she had already had over 2,000 hours of training in providing a calming presence, showing mercy and compassion to those who may need help processing stress or grief. Sharon's handlers have also had over 50 hours of training and have been certified by LCC prior to beginning field visits. All of Sharon's team members, which I'm a part of, also complete a course called Spiritual First Aid, which teaches frontline peer-to-peer spiritual and emotional care and trauma-informed best practices. Sharon is available for scheduled visits, emergency site visits to traumatic events, and also can be deployed with other LCC comfort dogs to areas of disaster or crisis, bringing comfort to those impacted, including first responders and other volunteers. Some of the places Sharon is already visiting locally include preschools, elementary schools, medical facilities, senior living facilities, food banks, emergency homeless facilities, including Fusion, and civic organizations. We gladly go where we are invited, and we never charge anything to those we serve. Some other examples of places where LCC comfort dogs are involved, including supporting our 911 call centers, our first responders, chaplains, support staff, juvenile and municipal court, funerals, hospice centers, and honor flight events for military veterans. I have this handout for each of you that I'd like to provide to council members, and invite you to check out the picture of the team on the back side, as well as the 3 QR codes on the bottom, which will give you more information about the LCC Comfort Dog Program, St. Luke's Lutheran Church, and Sharon's Facebook page, where you can follow her activities. We will be in the lobby at the address on Thursday night, and we invite you to come by and say hi.
I'll make sure I do after I get done talking. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. And may I approach and...
Yeah, you want to give it to the city clerk, or she'll pass them down?
Thank you very much.
All right. Is Sharon here?
No, she's not tonight.
All right. Tell her we said hey. All right. Next time, you got to bring her.
Mayor,
Yeah.
can we schedule Sharon to come at the next council meeting?
Yes. Can you, Kevin, actually, the request of the council member, Councilmember Moore, is that you bring Sharon to our next council meeting.
As you can imagine, she's quite popular.
Yes.
Check her schedule, and if we can do that, we'll make it happen.
All right, well, thank you. Okay. Throw a mayoral request in there, too. All right.
How old is Sharon?
Sharon has actually just turned 2.
Oh, so she's a
Last
puppy
week.
still.
Yeah,
Have Sharon's people contact our people.
you got it.
All right.
You give her birthday cake.
Very good. All right, Graham Evans.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, council members. Graham Evans, Federal Way. I'm still recovering from last week's special meeting, and I want to follow up on some concerns from that. I've talked to quite a number of people in Federal Way about it, and I think amongst us we came to a number of things that we'd like to happen. First of all, we thought that council members should ask themselves 3 questions. First of all, how much benefit was that meeting to the city? Our assessment was 0, unless lessons are learned and some points are followed up. Second, did you demonstrate as a council that good faith options had been undertaken to resolve the issues that had been discussed? Our assessment was no, there was insufficient effort in any sense of the word. Much more needs to be done. Third, did you operate in a non-partisan manner, aiming to serve the whole community? A resounding no from everybody I spoke with. And that's sad, because you should be operating in a non-partisan manner. I think the mayor and city council members need to pick up the pieces and aim to rebuild their collaboration. What should be done? First of all, students, scholars and their teachers eloquently addressed their fears on immigration enforcement. The mayor and council must urgently address those concerns and help alleviate them. Is a town hall, as proposed by Mayor Farrell, going to be adequate for that, or is something more urgent and thorough required? Second, some council members stated they had not been involved in organising this special meeting. Can the 4 less progressive members involved in calling the meeting be transparent about how that happened and reassure us that state laws and open meetings were not violated? Third, Councilmember Honda said tonight there was a description of the role of president. But last week, another council member, I'm sure, said that there was no job description, nor were there expectations. Anyway, from what Councilmember Honda said tonight, there was nothing in there that was discussed last week to parallel the comments that were made about Councilmember Moore. There's just a complete 2 trains going past tonight missing each other. So there's something needs to be done about that. And what was discussed last week was not relevant to the position of council president. Going on, we should ask each council member to pledge to work in future to seek mutual rather than partisan wins for the city council. We should work to be consistent on how rules and perceived rules are followed on outside interest, such as community care network and multi-service centre. Currently, it appears a partisan majority on the council gives an appearance of following 2 different sets of rules. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Paul McDaniel.
Good evening. I brought my council rule book just so I can refresh myself on a couple of the rules. Like the previous gentleman, name Paul McDaniel, resident since the early 1990s. My topic today is going to be on the letter versus the spirit of the law. So being on council, I learned a lot. One of the first things I'll mention is the letter is more important than the spirit to most politicians. The letter means you guys did exactly what you legally had to do, which you did. You gave 24-hour notice. You had comments, which usually doesn't happen at a special meeting. You made a motion, you had a discussion, and then you voted. That's it. I mean, that is literally it. But that has nothing to do with the spirit. I'll be blunt, it felt dirty, and the optics were bad. I know exactly what some of you felt like up there. I know what some of you guys were thinking when that stuff came in the emails. I got an email on Monday morning letting me know what was going to happen on Tuesday night. I think most of the people here can agree with that one. The optics were not good on that one. In the actual council rule book, underneath of section 5.3, it says the mayor has the authority to enforce the rules, preserve order at all meetings of the council, and to cause the removal of any persons from the meeting for disorderly conduct. That did not happen. I sat up there beforehand, I made the comment, and I'll let you right now, I'm not your leader, so I'm strictly iron tonight. I came up and I said, as the mayor, you have the strongest power. You are here to keep everybody else safe. You are here to enforce the rule. Naming was brought up again. The same person named people publicly again. There was yelling. There was clapping, which I did not see in the thing that was mentioned not to be appropriate. But there was also point of orders that were asked for by council. When a point of order is made, everything stops, and that is supposed to be addressed. Twice I heard council members ask for point of order, and they were ignored for the most part. You need to do better on that one. Your job is to lock this down. This is not free speech. This is governmental speech. One person controls what people are allowed to say here. I ask that person step up and to enforce the rule of law. You've given everybody a public notice of what they're allowed to do. If they do not do it, shut them down and kick them out. If I don't do it, kick me out. But you got to keep it a rules for the whole council, for everybody. Now I'm going to jump over to another part. You guys cannot control anything that happens at the federal level. You cannot even control anything on the state level. I know that. I thought I could do something from there. You can only do something locally. So let's talk about some local issues. There is right now a rate increase for the Federal Community Center that's being discussed of 18%. I understand that that building is costing more money, and we do need increased revenues. But the 18% increase is extremely steep. And on top of that, the 18% increase is required because the general fund doesn't have the money to back it out. There is right now 24 months of sales tax missing their actual budget. REIT has been off by over 2 years. The red lights are down by over $1 million. And on top of that, we have $8 million of a change in the actual total amount of expenditures. Focus on what we need to do, local stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Davio. And then Adrian, before you start talking, can I call up the next five so they can queue up while you're talking? All right. So we've got after Adrian, we've got Ken Blevins, Susan Andrew Salmon, Bennett Hazelton, Patty Ballister, Nathan Orth, Betty Taylor, Anna Patrick, and Craig Patrick. Okay. Please.
Adrian Davio, longtime resident, business owner, and raised my children here in Federal Way. At the February 10th council meeting, I raised concerns about the liability of districts, cities, etc., and elected officials using their positions to endorse political ideologies in schools and government settings. Topics such as LGBT flag ideologies, anti-ICE sentiment, defunding efforts, and support for illegal immigration are examples of ideologies being promoted at taxpayer expense. You indicated you would follow up regarding the liability insurance carriers for the city and district, but I have not received a response yet. Public officials are currently promoting LGBT issues, protesting ICE, and supporting illegal immigration policies in schools and public policies. For instance, a parent in the Highline School District intends to sue after his child was instructed to skip school and protest ICE off campus during school hours without parental permission or knowledge. In Fremont, Nebraska, a student was struck by a car during one of these unauthorized ICE protests held during school hours. Seattle taxpayers were recently saddled with a $30 million judgment related to a teen death following Mayor Durkin's Summer of Love policy, which allowed 6 blocks in East Police Precinct to be taken over. A 22-year-old was awarded $2 million after undergoing breast removal surgery at age 16, encouraged by ideologies promoted by schools, surgeons, and psychiatric professionals. Nearly 30 additional transgender-related lawsuits have been filed, and more are expected due to the influence of ideologies on vulnerable and impressionable children through school and government policies. In 2023, Governor Inslee signed Senate Bill 5599, designating Washington State as a sanctuary for transitioning youth. The Department of Children, Youth, and Families will provide medical and surgical services to children from this and other states seeking sanctuary without parental notification at Washington taxpayer expense. Governor Inslee also signed Senate Bill 5497 in 2019, making Washington State sanctuary for illegal immigrants. Legislators, public officials, and teachers are showing poor judgment by perpetuating policies that violate immigration laws, parental rights, and protections for minors. Government bodies and elected officials should not use their positions to place taxpayers in precarious legal situations. None of the sanctuary policies were put to a public vote. Taxpayers are bearing the consequences of irresponsible, unaccountable legislators' poor judgment with no consideration for the impact on taxpayers or victims. The physical, emotional, and financial carnage resulting from these policies, implemented without input from the electorate, is at best misfeasance or malfeasance, and at worst, dereliction of duty and violation of your oath of office. Are the liability insurance carriers for the various government jurisdictions in Washington state covering the physical, emotional, and financial harm resulting from these policies and ideologies being promoted
Adrian.
in schools and government?
Adrian, that's time.
I want to know if are the liability insurance carriers, are they going to cover this stuff? Because if they're not, then you guys need to stop promoting it in schools and in the government.
right.
And she wasn't here, so she's got 3 minutes. Can I just finish? It's very
No,
short.
no, I'm sorry.
Very short.
Adrian, no, I'm sorry. Hey, the time is over.
Okay,
So
well, you
what I-
each have a copy. I entered it with, for the record, with the clerk, and I expect a response from all of you as to what the insurance carriers cover and do not cover as a result of these ideologies being pushed in school and government policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bill, will you please raise your hand? So Bill Vadino is going to get, we've got your information here, but he's going to, Bill Vadino is going to connect with you before you leave, and we'll get you the information you need. All right. Thank you very much. When we hit 3 minutes, please stop. Okay, Kim Blevins.
Mayor, City Council, my name's Ken Blevins. I was a citizen of Federal Way for 53 years, and I just moved to Auburn, Washington, and so it's not any better over there. But it was a beautiful house, and it's not like I was running away from Federal Way. But I will say, I did watch the meeting this last week, and I think the mayor did a pretty good job of not overdoing it, giving people a lot of slack, because people are just a lot of emotion. You don't want to, you want to just be mindful of it, and I think he did a good job of that. It's not the mayor's fault that all that happened, actually. This is great out here. I was at almost every city council meeting in the last 5 years, and most of these people weren't here. So it's good that you're actually out here and speaking up like we have the right to do that First Amendment speech. But just because you're here doesn't mean you're the only people in Federal Way. So if you think that the mayor and the council has to listen to you only, you're not the only ones. There's 100,000 people here, and a lot of them are voters. And so there's a huge community that they also have to listen to. It's not just you. So I saw them listen to you, and they're not listening to us. They listened to you. They sat there quietly and listened to everybody, and they did hear it. But you know what, the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, the council was actually golden. It was nice. Before that, there was bullying happening on the council. A lot of bullying. And I didn't appreciate that. Now it's bullying again. I wonder what's come back to do that. But the thing is that there were rules that were broken, and we need someone that is, and I say we, I'm now Auburn, but Federal Way needs, it's nonpartisan. You need to work together. And Susan is nonpartisan. She always talks to both sides. Lydia, she's a Democrat, but she listens and works with other people on the other sides. We don't need division. And I say we because my mom lives here. She's 80 years old. She's going to live her last years here. And we just need cohesiveness, work together to do what's best for Federal Way, not what's best for the Democrat Party, not what's best for the Republican Party, progressive or conservative. You'd be surprised how close you are, because the council can be that. That's the way they're supposed to. But you have to be the leader. You can't be bringing kids out here under false pretense and convincing them to come on a certain night. I don't see any kids here tonight because they weren't told to come. Okay, they're children. Don't use children. We saw a kid out in Enumclaw that went to jail because someone got her going about lies about ICE. ICE is out there to take criminals off the road. And if someone are out of the streets, they're not breaking down Americans' doors. They might pick up an American, okay? If you're with an illegal immigrant that has broken the law, they have you on a sheet that they're looking for that specific person, and you're hanging out with them, they're probably going to detain you. If you're illegal, they're probably going to send you home. But they don't want to take children. Just, let's try to just be a good community, and everybody, you guys do a good job. You're doing good.
All right, thank you. Susan Andrew Salmond, and then Bennett Hasselton.
Good evening. My name is Susan Andrew Salmon, and I'm a voter in Federal Way. So I was here for the first part, and I want to thank some of the council members who were receptive to the people who showed up last month, I believe, to talk about the flag, the change in the flag ordinance. I particularly appreciate your comments Councilmember Sessoms. And I wanted to point out a few things. I understand that there's concern about divisiveness, that different flags purportedly show. But, and I also heard a lot of talk about, oh, no one goes to City Hall. Well, you know what? City Hall is the seat of power in Federal Way. It carries that, and people understand that. So when people don't see themselves represented, right, when there's merely a political flag or a regional, whatever that entity is, then the political entity is telling them something. You're not a part of this, perhaps. It's not enough to say we're all part of Federal Way. We know that. But another thing that came up is that perhaps solely government flags could be representative of everyone, but many, many people in this community don't feel that a government flag is particularly representative of them. It tends to represent a power structure that they haven't been part of. And I think that that needs to be considered, and I'm glad that the council will be taking that up. Finally, it seemed very difficult for people to come up with exactly which flags. Well, we have recognized months and weeks of the year that honor different parts of our population. And it's really an easy start to go there. It's also an easy start to have our diversity committee and some of the other committees that look at and work with, groups in Federal Way to consider what might be good policy for the council to consider. So I thank you for looking again at this policy, and I urge you to consider, who are you leaving out by saying, oh, we can go put it somewhere else in Federal Way where people might pass by and see it? No. The power structure needs to be to show that it's inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you. Bennett Hazelton, and then Patty Ballister.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. I wanted to speak to the issue of Federal Way anti-ICE school walkouts, and specifically to respond to some of the statements that Councilmember Hamilton had made regarding Councilmember Moore's actions, and then to present the facts as I was able to ascertain them. So last Friday, February 13th, Councilmember Hamilton called in to the Ari Hoffman radio show.
Hold on, can I interrupt you for a second? Can you stop the timer? We're going to start your timer over again. Well, the council rules specifically say to address all comments as a whole to the council. So let's try to keep this as a whole to the council. I understand you're quoting a council member, but we try to keep this, when somebody from the public, the council rules state to direct all comments to the body. All right?
I understand. I mean, this is an invitation for action by the council collectively, but there's no way to present the facts without referencing a statement that a particular council member made. But I am addressing everybody and not the council member in particular. This is not meant as a statement to either one of them personally.
Okay.
But-
So I think we all know where we're at now, but just direct all the comments directly to the entire council. Can we please restart his timer? And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, but I am going to be referencing statements made by a particular council member, but I'm mindful of what you said about it has to be addressed to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Pertaining to matters that pertain to everybody, right?
I just want to make sure I'm doing my job too.
Yes,
Okay.
me as well. All right.
What's that?
We'll get on the timer? All right, so on February 13th, last Friday, Councilmember Hamilton called into the Ari Hoffman radio show.
It's okay, let's just go. Just go.
And this is what she said.
One thing that he did do that concerned me was that from his official council president social media page, he encouraged minors to not only engage in the political protest, but to privately message him. And to me, that's what crossed the serious boundary. That's not appropriate for any elected official to be privately messaging students.
No, it's really, really not. So this is really...
Hang on. Now, I'm going to read the text of the message that Councilmember Hamilton's referring to. This is the message that Councilmember Moore posted. I'm reading the original words. Any emphasis on particular words is added by me.
I'm sorry. You're out of order. So
why?
I've
He
explained
said,
to you.
our young people are clearly feeling fear and uncertainty, and that is heartbreaking. I am proud of these young people for using their voices, and I stand with them. If you'd like to join them, please PM me. He's clearly addressing adults in the community, asking them to join the student walkouts. It wouldn't make any sense for this message to be addressed to students. The students in a school know if they're having a walkout. It wouldn't make any sense for him to say to a student, if you'd like to join them, PM me. He's clearly addressing adults in the community. A lot of student walkouts have groups of adults that join to show support, to sort of keep their head on a swivel, looking for agitators, things like that. That's something that does happen. I understand there was also accusations that he had been using the president's account to advocate for partisan politics. I'm not addressing that, but here's the thing. If you're a guy and you're accused of two things, and one of them is soliciting inappropriate messages from minors, that's the one that people are going to remember. This was a wildly inflammatory accusation and obviously false. Again, I'm going to read what he wrote. I am proud of these young people for using their voices, and I stand with them. If you'd like to join them, please PM me. He is clearly talking to the adults in the community. I'd like to invite Councilmember Hamilton to address this and to retract the statements that she made. Falsely accusing a council member of inappropriate communication with minors is not a legitimate way to do politics.
Sir?
Thank you.
Your time is, okay, everybody, take a deep breath. I told you.
Me too.
You're out of order. Your comments, your time is done. Please remove yourself from the podium. We are going to conduct business here tonight. Everybody just take it down a couple of notches. I don't want to hear any more yelling from the background, okay? Anybody who yells from this point forward will be escorted out of here. We are going to conduct business, and I am not going to tolerate yelling. Paul's not going to let me allow it either. So let's just take it down a couple notches, okay? We're all neighbors here. Okay, and we want to hear what you have to say. If you have a comment about a particular council member, just say a council member. We're smart enough to figure it out. But we do have rules, okay? All right, Patty Ballister. Then Nathan North.
All right. So here's a funny one. I received another data breach notification today. Like most residents, I get them really regularly now. Our information, our movements, our purchases, our medical data is constantly being collected somewhere, and it's constantly at more and more risk of exposure. In my professional work, I see that all the time, and I see what happens when those systems fail. Data breaches are incredible. They're not just minor inconveniences. They create huge financial liability, civil exposure, operational disruption, and most importantly, long-term reputational damage. That's the professional world. That's why I'm concerned about Federal Way's expanded use of license plate readers, drone surveillance, and partnerships that allow private surveillance systems to feed into public law enforcement databases. Those tools collect information about everyone, not just suspects. They build databases of location data and, tied to ordinary residents just going about their daily lives. We should be really honest about that and its implications. Some technologies really fundamentally change the relationship between residents and their government, and this is one of them. This is normalizing mass data collection first and then asking oversight questions later. In a democratic society, my concern is that the default position should be that the government doesn't just track everybody just in case. It shouldn't be that it should be more like surveillance is targeted, justified, rare. Even with retention limits or sharing policies, the core issue really remains. Should a local government be building searchable records of where people travel or capturing aerial footage of neighborhoods as kind of a more routine function? I believe that question deserves more scrutiny than a vendor contract approval, and I'm noticing as I start to look a little bit more into what's happening in Federal Way, I'm recommending that the council review their transportation policies, adopt really strict and transparency requirements, strict public reporting requirements, and reauthorization votes. But I also would like you to consider whether some of the tools that we're talking about are just simply inconsistent with the level of government intrusion that our community really wants to accept today. Public safety really matters, I get that, boundaries really matter. I'm concerned that we are kind of missing both of those marks with the technology setup that we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Okay, Nathan Orth, then Betty Taylor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan North. I've been a resident of Federal Way for 8 years. At the City Council retreat less than a month ago, everyone on the dais agreed to keep public comment at 3 minutes. Last week, at a special meeting called with only 30 hours' notice, public comment was chopped down to half of its regular time. This was a disappointing and convenient reversal. I hear you thinking that the meeting started at 7 p.m. and that a regular public comment period would have dragged on until midnight. I would ask you which of the public commenters whose time was cut scheduled that meeting for 7 p.m. To faithfully and impartially discharge your duties to the best of your ability, I swear to support and maintain the constitutions of both the United States and the state of Washington in accordance with state law. That was what you swore. Last week, 3 council members chose to punish one of the other council members for the content of his speech, a partisan attempt to quash public debate in free and open spaces, boldly testing the bounds of what it means to swear to uphold the Constitution. The free speech clause of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution prohibits Congress and government entities from restricting, censoring, or retaliating against individuals' speech, written words, or symbolic expression. All of this in deference to ICE, after they decided to shoot someone in the back of the head for filming them, after they shot a woman for driving away from them, after just yesterday they killed an innocent bystander on her way to work by instigating a chase that resulted in a deadly crash. The individual that they were chasing had no previous criminal record. For what? Some immigration quota? Now there's another dead teacher here in America. Is that what we stand for here in Federal Way? The slaughter and silencing of Americans who disagree with us? Is that how we build tomorrow together?
Thank you, Nathan. Betty Taylor.
My name is Betty Taylor, and I wasn't at that meeting either. I wasn't at that meeting. But I looked up council rules and procedures, and I'm just going to read it.
Betty, can you bring the microphone down to you?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Could you please start her time over again?
Okay.
Okay, Betty, go ahead.
Okay. All public communication should model the same professional behavior expected during council meetings or community meetings and reflect favorably on the speaking council member, the city council as a whole, and the city. In section 14, that's 14.1, section 14.2, council members need to have other council members' permission before representing to media, other governmental agency, a community organization, or to any third party, another council member's view or position, or the majority of council's view or position. So let me go social media. Responses to social media posts will be limited by the provision of the Open Public Meetings Act as to not to constitute an open public meeting if a quorum of the city council was to participate. Council members are encouraged to maintain social media sites with settings that can restrict a user's ability to comment in order to avoid an adherent discussion that may violate the Open Public Meetings Act. I don't know what to say. I just felt that it was totally like, I understand about the ICE, but there were two issues here. It wasn't all about ICE. It was about the conduct. It was about the misconduct. Of a social media post that basically went through the wrong channels. The council is supposed to work as a team. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 team members. Team members. That was not a team. You don't run out on a ledge by yourself without consulting your team. We don't want a divided council. We want a whole council, everybody working together. This council will not be divided. It will not be divided.
All right, thank you, Betty. Anna Patrick.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to speak about the meeting last week. And I'm really disappointed that adults are talking about one side of the story and leaving out the other. And then inflaming people with part of the story in order to manipulate people and activate people to their liking. It's really irresponsible. It really is. And anybody who hears things that sound outrageous, they should really try to gather the facts, because if it sounds outrageous, it just might be. You might want to drop those questions into your favorite AI and ask, is this really true? What's the rest of the story? And try to gather information so that you're fully informed. And it's really concerning that I hear things that are with very inflammatory words, too. Also, if you're hearing really inflammatory words, there's a purpose for that. I try to caution using inflammatory words as much as I can. It's not easy, especially when we're emotional and we're angry. And, you know, if the public thinks they cannot come here and speak to the city council because one particular person has been removed as council president, they're being misled. You can always come here and speak. Everybody has a voice. But let's make sure that we're advocating at the right level of government. If you want the city of Federal Way to make changes that involve the federal level of government, it's going to be kind of hard to do that. I mean, we can have conversations about it. It's important. We can show compassion to our community members. But we all have perspectives. We all have bias. We all have voices. And we should all be heard. And we should all work together. Thank you.
Craig Patrick.
Craig Patrick, a double shot of the Patricks. I don't know what you guys were thinking. Okay. You got the stick, now you're going to get the carrot. My name is Craig Patrick. I'm a resident of Federal Way. I'm glad you guys had a special meeting about the flags. We started raising the flags in 2019. The first flag that we raised was the Irish flag. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. I've been discussing this with other folks as a citizen of Federal Way. There's a lot of opportunity to have the flags in different places. I understand at the City Hall, you have the 3 flags, the state, the city, and the government, the national flag. However, there's an opportunity here on 312th and 509 Dash Point. There's a little triangle area there with a flagpole. It's got the City of Federal Way flag there. There's an opportunity, maybe they could rent the space. Maybe they could, how you adopt a highway. We can adopt that space for a month, and there's an expectation of behavior or presentations of the flags. Let me see what else. We got the Diversity Commission works on that. I think having the different commissions. The Parks Commission would be good. I like Commissioner Sessom, or Councilmember Sessom's idea about community panel. I think that we have that with the Diversity Commission and the Parks Commission. I think that there's a way to move forward on this. Negotiation, right? We have to negotiate what we're doing. A successful negotiation is you get what you want, but nobody's happy. And that's kind of what we have to go about that. Kind of think outside the box. I can see why we wouldn't want to have it at City Hall, but I think it's an important freedom of expression. For the last few years, we've been having Irish nationals come into the city that go to the Seattle parade. There's a family in Seattle that live in Ireland. They come over. They're going to be coming over this year. And they're not used to the no flag policy. So you may see Irish flags in the city of Federal Way because that's just how their culture is. So it's important to be like culturally sensitive to when these people come to Seattle or Federal Way and spend their money, that we want to make sure they feel welcomed. They're going to be instructed not to do it on city property, but we really, they're just going to be shenanigans and mischievous stuff going on. So that's going to be par for the course. With that being said, I'd really like to discuss this with you guys maybe at a later date. There's fish fries this Friday. We're going to be having fish fries for the next 6 weeks at St. Vincent's here in Federal Way. So there's a lot of opportunities to have the flag somewhere. We could fly it on that triangle space or over to the park where the baseball fields are. But the space that's a triangle, it's got a Federal Way flag, City of Federal Way flag. And if a flag could fly under that, that would show that the City of Federal Way is on top, and then you have the flag underneath the City of Federal Way. So if you want to come to the fish fry and discuss it, that'd be great. I'd like to invite you all to that, and I hope to see you there. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next five, Jeffrey Tangredi, Nancy Justice, Harold Booker, Kevin Morris via Zoom, Lana Bostic. Okay, Jeffrey Tangredi.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President Honda, Council, good evening. So there's been some discussion about the flags. It seems like outside of the three that we have, we seem to be focused on two for some reason. But there's, in Washington State, there's 28 tribes that are federally recognized in Washington State. What about their flag? The Colville Confederated Tribes, established 1872. The Confederated Tribes of the Chehalis Reservation. The Confederated Tribes of the Yakima Nation, 1855. The Cowlitz Tribe. The Hoh Tribe. The Jamestown S'Klallam Tribe. What about them? What about their flag? The Kalispel Tribe flag. How about Lower Elwha Klallam Tribe flag? The Lummi Nation, Treaty of 1855, which we probably violated. McCall Nation. Muckleshoot Tribe flag. What about their flag? How about the Nisqually Tribe? They have a constitution established September of 1946. Oh, we're not done yet. The Nooksack Tribe, 1855. Puyallup Tribe. Quileute Tribe. Quinault Nation. What about their flag? I never hear anybody talk about them. This is their land, isn't it? Isn't that what you all said? This is their freaking land, right? What about their flag? How about Samish Nation? How about Sauk Sioux-Atl Tribe, 1855? Showalter Bay Tribe flag. What about them? Snoqualmie Tribe. Skokomish Tribe. Spokane Tribe, 1881. Squaxin Island Tribe. What about them? Anybody want to talk about their flag? This is their land. How about Stillaguamish Tribe? How about their flag? How about Suquamish Tribe? Chief Seattle, right? 1855. How about the Tulalip Tribe? They got a flag. Every one of these tribes, they all have their own flag. Some of them, they're called nation, like Yakima Nation. How about the Upper Skagit Tribe? Many of these tribes were solidified in the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. So anyway, I just wanted to speak up. And you have many other Native Americans who aren't part of a tribe, like prior council member whose wife is part of the Apache tribe. So you got Native Americans who aren't part of one of the 28 federally recognized tribes in Washington State, but they live here. So what about their flag? What about Navajo? So thanks for your time, Mayor. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Nancy Justice.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, council members. Nancy Justice, Federal Way, Washington. I'm also here to speak about the meeting last week, and I want to talk about conduct. What kind of conduct is appropriate in this kind of venue? I saw rudeness, disruption, poor language, personal attacks. Saw it all. Not what I want to see here. That belongs in bars, not in this kind of place. Leaders need to lead. And if I were a leader and people supporting me behaved in the manner that we saw last week, I would be appalled. I would be ashamed that they represent me. People acting like that, it does not give credibility to the point they're trying to make. After the meeting, there were supporters that put videos on Facebook, and they were laughing and thought it was fun and wonderful that they were escorted out of here by police for the first time. That was really exciting for one of those supporters. There were F-bombs thrown. To what Graham Evans was saying about what lessons were learned, I hope the lesson learned was how not to conduct yourself. And in relation to the subject, ICE, that some people thought the meeting was about, it was not about ICE. They brought the wrong issue to the wrong meeting. It was about conduct, and that's where the confusion comes in, because people don't understand what we're discussing. They're bringing something irrelevant. Well, it's relevant, but in its own place. Mayor showed great restraint up there. He showed more than I would have, but great patience was shown. I hope that disturbances like that will be handled more severely. I yelled out myself. I yelled out because I could not hear. I am here to listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Booker, and then Kevin Morris via Zoom.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council President, members of the council. I'm Harold Booker. I've been a resident of Federal Way since 1962. I spent this afternoon watching last week's special session. Interesting, disappointing, and incredibly sad that my representatives held a session like that. Mr. Mayor did a passable job in a very challenging environment. It reminded me of the April 1st, 2025 council meeting, where a member of this council advised another member of this council about working behind closed doors, gaining 4 votes, and then surprising it an issue on the rest of the council. That council member advised the other council member about, gosh, that really could create divisiveness and ill will. I have to say, last Tuesday seemed like a mirror image of that event. Very ironic. It seems like that warning proved to be very prophetic. Now, I would recommend that council take time offline and review the video. There were some very thoughtful statements and points on either side. But you have to take a step back from the heat of the argument to absorb and listen. Civic rules of engagement, direct dialogue, supporting freedom of speech. 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the importance of working together and collaboration. I quoted my grandmother, "Believe in yourself, but you don't have to be brilliant to be successful. You must surround yourself with positive achievers or visionaries who add strength to the cause, team, or project you're working on. Then you can achieve any goal. Collaboration and listening is the goal." And that was a very, very sad demonstration. Thank you.
Kevin Morris via Zoom. Kevin, can you hear us? Is he on?
Hello?
We can hear you, Kevin.
Great, great. I'll try and be as brief as I can. I'm Kevin Morris, 40-year-plus citizen of Federal Way, and I was going to address the flag issue, which I will do in just a second, but I wanted to comment about a few earlier comments from the folks. First of all, that fine gentleman with the British accent talked about the council needing to be nonpartisan. The reason that the past council president was removed is because he's partisan. Another comment was made about government flags flying over City Hall. If you're living in the United States, you're governed by our laws of the United States. Another thing, too, that was made, a comment that was made about the previous council president and his communications with the students was when he said, when you leave the school, cover your face. Ridiculous. Now I'll go to the flag. I attended the special meeting earlier today, and I commend you for your comments, all of you. One thing that I did hear were a number of council members saying, well, let's look at the other cities. I say, let's take the lead. And that we should have, I've talked about having a rotunda, and I think it's very, very important, and Mr. Patrick commented about it as well, but all of those flag poles and the rotunda or squares or whatever should be privately funded and not funded by taxpayers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Alana Bostic.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and President of the Council and council members. Happy Lunar New Year and happy Fat Tuesday. I'm Lana Bostic, and I've lived in Federal Way since 1981. And tonight I have two issues to bring up to the council. First is the continued use of flock cameras. I don't believe that these are safe for our community, and recently received an email about some recent changes. I sent those to you today, and I hope that you got those and you can review that. There's been some big changes about what kind of data they can actually use now. I don't think that any data, any cameras that are giving any data to ICE need to be in Federal Way. So I'd like you to review those and discuss it. And also last week, Mayor Farrell made a statement that a forum or a meeting of some type would be happening to discuss the ICE presence in Federal Way. I believe that the council knows how the people feel about the ICE in Federal Way. And I would like that to be addressed. Recently, Sunday, I met the mayor of Burien. Her name is Sarah Moore. And we discussed this a little bit at a Indivisible meeting, so a lot of people were concerned in SeaTac and Tukwila what was going on in Federal Way. And I got to speak to the mayor, and she sent me some information about what her city has done. And I did email that to most of you, and I hope you got that. There are many other mayors who have already that you could reach out to that already have a lot of this figured out. I don't think you need to have more meetings and more meetings like the meeting you had about the flag to discuss that, and then nothing gets done. So I would like you to reach out to some of the other mayors and see what they've done and follow up on that. The community needs to be educated about this and be kept safe. And I believe that you can accomplish this. And I hope that this issue will be addressed on Thursday at your State of the City event. I think this is the most important thing that's happening in our city now. And I hope by the next city council meeting, you will have a plan to address these issues. I appreciate seeing the litany of your places you go and get a photo, but I think that it would be more important for you to really focus on how you can protect the diverse community of Federal Way. Thank you.
Thanks, Lana. Okay, Ron Kaler, then Carmen Kaler, then Allison Fine, then Roger Magnuson, Chris Barbarossa, and then Dara Mandeville. Okay, Ron Kaler.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Council President. Thank you much for this opportunity to speak. Ron Kaler, 33-year resident of Federal Way. I want to thank you, the council, for the firm stance they took on the vote concerning the council president behavior and conduct. And I do hope out of that there's been a lot of good discussion amongst you all to maintain a good working relationship that benefits our city. I'm also thankful that the rezone on the application property over 320th and First Avenue is no longer viable. That's a great thing. My neighbors are very relieved. I'd like to the city give more attention to the drug and homeless encampments and public safety that are going on. We're seeing a lot more of the encampments taking place. There's some down there on the end of 312 Dash Point Road that's becoming quite prolific. And more people on the bus stops that are camping and residing there multiple days. That, I believe, needs greater attention by our public police officers or such. I'd also like to see, another thought is serious thought this year to celebrate our country's 250th anniversary. That we would have continued kind of informative historical information presented at either council members or in our city news that give recognition to our country and its great, fantastic founding. And I'd also like recommend a firmer stance when it comes to the position on taking attention to disruptive meeting attendees. We had the last meeting that was just reprehensible in this council. I thought it was led on too long, and you had a public comment individual that has shown a pattern of very aggressiveness, pointing out names, name calling, and that's not appropriate in these chambers, and that needs to be subdued by the position on the council here, and I think it would be a better image to our city as being seen all over the place, that we control the environment here a lot better. And the attendees be a lot more respectful to everyone that are speaking and getting rid of the chanting and the hollering out of the background, that there's no place for that here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron. Carmen Kaler. Then Allison Fine.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have been a resident of Federal Way for 33 years, and I would like to first thank the council for taking a hard stand on moving on forward last week. And now we need to focus on city problems like homelessness, drug addiction, and safety problems, like what happens way too often outside of the 320th Safeway, where my husband and I have seen multiple drug deals. We have also seen RVs parking in different areas in Federal Way. We really appreciate, though, having an app called Eyes of Federal Way we can bring our issues to, and also have the police officers responding so quickly to our calls regarding drug dealings outside of the dollar store, where someone was also urinating in front of the public in the parking lot. It is very important for you all to work together to benefit all of us, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Allison Fine, followed by Roger Magnuson.
Hey, two things. We do have a celebration of our 250th anniversary as a country. It's called our 4th of July celebration, and it's big and expensive. Also, we could fly native flags. There are only 3 tribes that have ownership over Federal Way: Muckleshoot, Puyallup, and Walla Walla. But sure. Last week, I was unable to attend the special meeting in person, but I watched it carefully and want to share my perspective. First, I understand the concern that was raised regarding Councilmember Moore. I agree that personal opinion should be shared on personal platforms rather than in an official capacity. I communicated that to him directly. However, the response by some members of this council felt disproportionate to the act. Instead of addressing the issue with balance and thoughtful leadership, a technical rule was used to remove an elected official when there were more meaningful and constructive ways to address the issue while preserving collaboration and trust. Decisions like that impact public confidence and send a discouraging message to the young people who look to their leaders for support. Across many nearby cities, elected officials are finding ways to stand alongside youth while still maintaining professionalism and accountability. We should be reflecting on why our leaders are incapable of doing the same in Federal Way. Since I have the opportunity to speak, I also want to address another concern. 2 weeks ago, I was not selected for a voting position on the Diversity Commission, despite 2 open seats and spending a year as an alternate. I was giving information that was conflicted, but then later clarified, including that A, my application wasn't in the packet, and it was. B, that no one explained that I had expressed interest, but they did. And then there was some supposed confusion around standard practices regarding promoting alternates without interviews, which in fact has happened multiple times. I also questioned why other commission members had their terms extended 4 months early and was told that it was due to scheduling conflicts. Yet a special meeting was organized within 24 hours last week. The inconsistencies raise serious concerns about transparency and fairness, particularly given that many of these statements came from the current council president. My goal is not conflict, it is accountability and progress. Concerning the flag issue to be discussed tonight, or that was formally discussed, I am formally asking to fly a representational banner on the side of City Hall for all the things that we would normally fly a flag. Because that's what we do here now. We fly banners on our City Hall instead. As Reverend Jesse Jackson said, never look down on anybody unless you're helping them up. I have long since felt that some of you on City Council treat people who hold passionate positions like myself and want us to shrink into the boxes that you feel are appropriate for us. I am deeply invested in this community. I will continue to advocate, participate, and speak up, even when it is uncomfortable, because that is how meaningful change happens.
Roger Magnuson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm going to start off by saying that I respect and support a certain council member who shall be unnamed. You know, I watched this thing in Enumclaw last night with these students, and I remember there was a question that was asked one of the students, and I think she was one that was arrested for violence. There was no ICE, there was no police there. And what is ICE? What's it stand for? And she said, oh, they are traitors, racist traitors. And I think what we need to do, I think we need to educate and talk to students in particular about what is the responsibility of ICE. When were they formed? What are they for? What's their mission? Because I think a lot of what they feel and what they think they know is coming from rhetoric that is probably not accurate. And I would suggest that ask them who is Christopher Gadd. Does anybody know? He was a state trooper that was killed by an illegal alien doing 100 miles an hour under the influence of marijuana and alcohol. Lakin Rayleigh, some of these others, ask them, do you know who these people are? And it strikes me as, why all of a sudden are we having this upheaval about arresting illegals? And because there was a president of the United States that arrested more illegals and deported more illegals than any other president in history. His name was Obama, over 2 million. I didn't see any protests. I didn't see any concerns. And, but now all of a sudden, and I think one of the reasons is because we had, you can take whatever number you want, 10, 15, 20 million of open borders, people coming into our country, we don't know who they are. And so many, I heard a statistic just the other night, she was saying there were 400,000 illegal aliens. Well, okay. I wish I had more time, but here's one thing I want to say and close with. Who knows Kim Hensley? I'm proud to admit and to say that she's my wife. She came to the United States when she was 27 years old. Somebody assisted her in finding a job. She worked days, went to school at night. The reason is because she wanted to become an active member of the community and become a citizen. She did it for 4 years. And I think maybe we ought to take that example and try to help people to want to be citizens. And I wish I had more time, but thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Chris Barbarossa. Oh, I'm actually, Derry, you're already there? Let's do it. Dara Mandeville. That's okay, you're there. Go ahead.
I'll be quick, I promise. Don't laugh.
Dara Mandeville.
Few things. First off, I wanted to just kind of bring it to everybody's attention. I know not the churches in the area don't get a lot of publicity, but my church, Brook Lake, did the annual Night to Shine last Friday. I know a couple people in the room were there. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's sponsored by the Tim Tebow Foundation. It's incredible. It's a prom for special needs children and adults. Over 100 members of our community enjoyed the night. It was amazing. So if it's something you'd love to do, we do it every single year. It's always February 13th every year. You should look into it. It's awesome. So shout out to Brook Lake. I wanted to thank the council members who took a stand at the special meeting last week, and also remind people that the council president position isn't a position that we have any control over. It's the council's spokesperson. Just a reminder. I wanted to ask certain member of the city council to please reply to emails. I've been waiting over 2 weeks, still nothing. And last but most importantly, I'm really excited to get back to business, city business, things that actually affect Federal Way. And no offense to anybody on the dais or on the payroll of City of Federal Way, but nobody in this room has control over what ICE does. But our communities are suffering, and the homeless, and the children, and the daycares, and the streets, and the street lights, and all of the things. And we've literally spent the last 5 weeks arguing with our community members over something we have no control over. So, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Chris Barbarossa.
My name is Chris Barbarossa, and I would like to address the issue of parcel 9258. In the past 30 years, there have been at least 4 attempts to build on or modify the existing land use designation of 100 South 320th Street. A September 16, 2021 feasibility study evaluating the parcel for potential use as an operations and maintenance facility pointed out the challenges of developing the site. Here are some of direct quotes from that study. The site is heavily vegetated with dense fir trees as tall as 90 feet tall. There are 3 wetlands centrally located on the site and a creek conveying surface runoff. The site may be considered a fish and wildlife conservation area due to the wetlands on that site. The site is located in the Hylabos Creek and Lower Puget Sound drainage basin. Given that information, it's time to consider this parcel be used for something other than development. It could become a park or natural area. This parcel would comply with the Growth Management Act, which emphasizes the importance of retaining open spaces and green space, enhancing recreational opportunities, enhancing fish and wildlife habitats, increasing access to natural resource lands and water, and developing parks and recreation facilities. I urge the City Council to apply for a King County Conservation Futures Grant to fund the cost of acquiring this parcel for a natural area. Indeed, this land is what the grant program designates as an opportunity area. For such properties, the grant organization may pay the entire cost of acquiring the parcel. With an appraised value of around $7 million, this parcel is actually cheaper than several of the other plots whose purchase King County Conservation Futures has funded. Some of Federal Way's best decisions have been acting assertively to preserve valuable aspects of our city. I think of their conservation of the Hylabos wetlands and the acquisition of Dumas Bay Center as 2 of these examples. We look back on these decisions and are grateful for the city's foresight. Applying for a grant to preserve this property on 320th as an urban open space could be the next victory to include on the list of clear-minded preservation decisions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, I am out of pink sheets. Are there any others? Or is there anybody online? All right, I want to say on behalf of the council and everybody here, thank you so much for all of your comments. It's the most important thing we do to hear from you. All right, now moving on to item 5, which is the consent agenda. These items have gone through council committee, can be passed all at once. After I read each one of them to give you, to let the public know what we're going to be voting on, I'll ask the council if there are any items that they would not pulled for separate consideration. So here we go. Item 5 of the consent agenda. Item A, minutes for the February 3rd, 2026 City Council special and regular meetings. Item B, the February 10th, or the minutes from the February 10th, 2026 special City Council special meeting. Item C, award bid for the 2026 asphalt overlay program. Item D, the resolution for the 2025 South King Housing and Homelessness Partners, SKHHP, also known as SKIP, Housing Capital Fund recommendations. Item E, bid for the Federal Way Community Center pool up for authorization. Item F, the interlocal agreement, Department of Social and Health Services, DSHS, for respite in community settings. Item G, the Parks Commission work plan. Item H, the funding and to authorize contract execution for Federal Way TV, FWTV broadcast room mini split HVAC HVAC unit replacement. And item I, acceptance of floriculture equipment for organizations grant. Council, that's items A through I. Would council members want to pull any items for special consideration or separate? All right. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda items A through I.
Second. Been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matters passed unanimously. Item 6A, council confirmation of the 2026-2027 committee appointments. Council President Honda.
Thank you. The only changes that were made to this, to to the lineup of the council committees was for the FedRock Committee, Linda Kochmar as chair and member Martin Moore, and as Land Use and Transportation Committee, member Linda Kochmar. The rest remain as appointed before.
And are you making that motion to approve?
I am, thank you.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's been a motion, a second, to confirm those amendments and changes. Is there there's been a motion, a second discussion. Councilmember Moore?
Yeah, while I appreciate Council President Honda keeping the majority of the appointments that I created last month, I will say that I wish that there was more thorough and thoughtful conversation with the latest committee assignments. So because there wasn't, I will vote no on this. Thank you.
All right, is there any other, I see Councilmember Kochmar, your lights on, are you just getting ready for the vote? All right. Okay, all right, is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Heather?
Councilmember Seffa Dawson.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Nay.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh.
Aye.
Councilmember Sessom.
Nay.
Councilmember Kochmar.
Aye.
And Council President Honda.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-2.
Okay, all right, now we are on to item 7, ordinances. This is first reading. Council Bill 932, ordinance, co-living housing code amendment. And we'll have Holly Bozak, our planning manager. Great to see you again, Holly. And then we'll have her give a presentation, and then we'll see if there's any public comment. Let me just ask now, has anybody signed up for public comment? Okay, so if anybody wanted to come in on this, there's still time to do that. With that, Holly, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for the lovely welcome. Good evening, Council President Honda and council members. As mentioned, I'm Holly Bozak. I'm the planning manager for the city, and I'm here to present the proposed code amendments to Title 19 of the Federal Way Revised Code in relation to House Bill 1999. With that, the policy question before you tonight is, should the City Council adopt the proposed text amendments to Federal Way Revised Code Title 19 related to co-living housing? To start out with a little bit of background for you this evening, I do want to just dive in quickly to what is co-living housing. It is a residential development with sleeping units that are independently rented and provide living and sleeping space in which residents share kitchen facilities with residents of other units in the building. This House bill was part of the state legislative session in 2024, and as many of you may remember, we had quite a number of state bills in that legislative session. This is the last of those that cities and counties were required to adopt, so it feels a little bit like a win for me up here tonight, getting this last one done. What the RCW says, as adopted standards in the state code already read, is that this must be a permitted use in any zone that permits 6 or more dwelling units in a multifamily building. We cannot have restrictions greater than those that we apply to multifamily development. We cannot mandate a mix of sizes or mix of uses. We also have to treat each dwelling unit as a quarter of a dwelling unit. I'm sorry, these are called sleeping units. We'll get to that in a little bit. So each sleeping unit can only be counted as a quarter of a dwelling unit. There are also restrictions that apply to parking, and we have to allow incentives for affordable housing for these types of development. Co-living housing is considered well suited for structures that are already existing, so it's easier to retrofit buildings. And it is also considered good options for people who want to reduce their housing costs, who prefer living arrangement with more of a sense of community. They would like to trade off space for location, and they would prefer a more private alternative to having roommates. The proposed amendments are outlined here for you. We have proposed an adjusted definition for dwelling units to reflect co-living housing. We've also added a definition for co-living housing and sleeping units, And we have added use zone charts to the zones that are outlined on the slide here. So it will be an allowed use in the multifamily residential zone, the neighborhood business zone, community business zone, the city center core, and the city center frame zones. Going a little bit more into depth on the standards, in the RM zone, the units can be stacked or attached. In the other zones, they can only be stacked. There is an option for ground floor retail, and the density is 287 square feet per sleeping unit. And once again, as mentioned earlier, parking is a quarter of a parking space per sleeping unit. And outdoor public space or open space requirements are 25 square feet per sleeping unit. The adoption process is outlined for you here. We started working on this fall of 2025. We made our SEPA determination in September of 2025. We brought this to Planning Commission for a public hearing in December of last year. We were at LUTC on February 2nd, and we are here with you tonight for the first reading. The proposed amendments are consistent with the applicable provisions of the comprehensive plan. They bear a substantial relationship to public health, safety, and welfare, and are in the best residents of the city. Your options tonight are to adopt the proposed ordinance or do not adopt and provide direction to staff. Planning Commission, LUTC, and the mayor's recommendation is to approve the amendments as proposed. Are there any questions?
All right. Council President Hunt, do you have a question?
I do. So this isn't simply taking a house that has 4 bedrooms, so you're only using 1 and renting out the other 3, or is it?
This is a type of multifamily development where you can have up to 4 bedrooms sharing facilities. And typically, this is the type of development that would be in a multifamily zone. So this is not an allowed development in single-family zones currently.
So in a facility that would have sleeping units like this, so rooms where they would have their beds and their living space, so are the walls protected so that if there was a fire in the one living space, it would be contained as much as possible in that living space, such as in an apartment building?
So fire rating will fall underneath the building code, but there are certain levels of fire rating that are required for any multifamily development. I cannot speak to what the building code says on those, but we have our building official who ensures that his team is reviewing any proposals to be in compliance with those standards.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Council, any other questions? Councilmember Safa Dawson?
Thank you. Yeah, so how is it different from, like Council President said, 4-bedroom house, 4 people living in who are not related versus what this is? And why does it require legislation?
This is a new type of affordable housing that the state brought forth and wanted to make sure that cities and counties planning under the GMA are having as a permitted use in their codes. And a lot of counties and cities did not have this as a permitted use. So it was the state's way of entering a new type of affordable housing into the mix for multifamily zones and other zones that allow for multifamily development. So on the surface, it's very similar to a house that has individual bedrooms that are being rented out. However, that is something that would be allowed in a single-family zone, in single-family housing. And this is a type of multifamily development that allows for one single room with a living and sleeping area to be rented and then have shared kitchen facilities so that it can decrease the cost of housing for somebody who would prefer that type of living arrangement over renting a house in someone, or renting a room in someone's house.
So who's the landlord?
These will be projects that are brought forth by developers typically. The projects that we have seen that have happened already have been done in existing motels and churches. They've been retrofitted to have separate rooms and shared kitchen facilities. In terms of who the landlord is, that would be up to the developer.
I was the housing director a long time ago for a nonprofit organization where we had unrelated single adults living with HIV/AIDS, where we rented big houses and then they lived there. So were we wrong for doing that? I'm just still puzzled about why this is now a thing.
So again, if you remember back in 2024, the state had quite a few bills. We had more than a dozen bills just here in community development to address with that legislative session. And one of the big pushes, as I'm sure everyone will remember, is to have more options for housing that is affordable, and that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. As you know, we have a really heavy push to have many more housing units in our city by 2040. And this is one of the ways the state is trying to get cities and counties to reach those numbers.
So do they say how many units we need, or those types of units we need?
I'm sorry?
Is there, do they say how many we need for each city?
Yes, there is data on how many units we need in Federal Way, and I believe it's 33,000 by 2040, and I will look at Mr. Niven to correct me if that is incorrect.
So I think, so just a clarified question, council member, were you asking how many of these sleeping units we would be expected in the next 20 years?
Correct.
I don't think we have a target for that, do we, Holly?
We do not have a target for this specific type of housing unit. A combination of housing units, our goal is around the 30,000 range in the next.
I think, I mean, so this type of housing is more like a dormitory.
Right.
And like, you're going to see these built more in more urban places like Seattle and Tacoma. I think the question is whether there's a market for this type of housing in Federal Way or not. I would guess probably not, but opening the door, allowing it in code, if somebody wanted to build it, they could, but it is likely that, you know, something where you have a shared, possibly a shared bathroom, a shared kitchen, and no parking, that really doesn't fit our community right now, maybe in 10 years, 20 years. But I think, you know, what the state legislature said is we have to allow it, and if nobody builds it, then nobody builds it.
So it's not required yet?
It's not required yet.
So I still have concern, and I did bring it up last time, around parking, you know, the 0.25. Can we make it so it's at least one parking per sleeping room instead of 0.25? Can we determine that or make that?
We cannot. We have to be in compliance with what the state has put forth in the RCW. And what the state has put forth is that a quarter of a parking space is what is appropriate for each sleeping unit. And what the density is that each sleeping unit is a quarter of a dwelling unit.
Okay. All right. Sorry, one more question. Sorry, Mayor. Can you double up, or can like a couple move into that space? Or, yeah.
So again, the building code is the code that references how many people are able to occupy a certain square footage space. I believe up to 2 people are allowed in these units.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hamilton, then Councilmember Moore.
So it's my understanding that this is an ordinance brought forth because we have to update our laws due to state law. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't really have a choice in this, right?
That's
We have to.
one way to put it.
We have to. I do think that this could be a good thing for people in our community because I know a lot of young people who they can't, you know, they don't qualify for low-income housing, but they also can't afford market rate housing. And so this kind of seems like in between that and more like a college dorm situation. So I think it's a good thing, and, you know, I have to be supportive of it because we have to update to state law.
Okay, any other questions for Holly? Okay, Holly, stay close, please. We have what, is this the one and only? Okay, we've got the one and only Allison Fine. No, we've got one comment. It's from Allison Fine. And you've got 3 minutes.
I'm going to talk about flying flags outside these small apartments. No, I'm not. I'm actually going to talk in agreement. I just hope that as you guys move forward through this ordinance process, that you guys are on board with it. Federal Way has had some tendency, and I'm not saying this particular council necessarily makeup, obviously, but Federal Way sometimes has to catch up to what's going on with the rest of the region. And exactly what Melissa said, there are so many young people that we say, go off, go to college, and then come home, work in our community, live in our community, play in our community, raise your family in our community. And when they come home, they're not coming home necessarily married. They're not coming home partnered even. They're living in their parents' basement or wherever. This gives a young person an opportunity to be able to afford to live on their own. These are very small spaces. I have seen them in Seattle. They are not somewhere you are going to live forever. But that is a medium space for them to live in, to transition, because right now it is impossible. I'm a 47-year-old woman who raises a special needs adult who could not afford market rate rent right now because I have to, I'm responsible for someone else. And that's as a grown-up with a professional career and degrees and all of those things. A young person out in the world today, no matter how many degrees you have, is at a loss when it comes to housing. So I really hope that you guys as a council take this as an opportunity to say, how can we best use this kind of housing? Where can we put it that it makes sense by the transit center? And how do we help support all different levels of housing? Because I would love to own a home like so many of you do. I can't. And these kids won't be able to. Give them spaces that they can have ownership, that they can commute to work wherever they live, but they can live right here in Federal Way. So I really hope that you guys are forward thinking on this, because we don't want to have to play catch up. It's gonna happen whether we like it or not. Be ahead of the curve is what I hope for our city with you guys.
Very good. Thank you. What's that? Oh, Councilmember Kochmar?
So this really, Holly, isn't really about this topic so much as a tangential to what Allison was talking about, which is, I'm wondering, Keith, are we still going to be talking about small houses in land use?
So we've still got there's still a few more rabbits up our sleeve in terms of code amendments, like, for example, religious bonus of density on religious property or property that used to be owned by churches. So there's still a few things for us to talk about in terms of trying to get smaller houses and things to happen in our city. But I think part of all of this and part of what the legislature did in Olympia was let's throw a bunch of spaghetti at the walls and see if we can actually get more housing built in Washington State. The small houses on church property as one option, that's absolutely something we'll be talking about.
Okay, and also, do you know if there's, in Federal Way, if there's a demand for small backyard cottages or mother-in-law type?
So there is, yes. So what we did is we approved our code amendments that allow now 2 accessory dwelling units on lots, but we also then did middle housing, which allows for, up to 6 units on every single family lot. So there's if people want to get smaller units built on the same amount of property, there's many more choices today than there were, say, 2 years ago. So I think the needle's moving in the right direction to get some of that. Now we just need builders to step forward. And as Holly knows, we've had conversations with a number of builders wanting to do little unit lot subdivisions to get more density on property in Federal Way.
That brings up a good point, which is, do you think we should have some kind of a meeting with the council and where we could talk to the builders who are, like we have Lennar in our area, and talk to them about, building small houses in our area so that people can buy something and have equity in their homes.
Excuse me, I'm going to jump in here, Councilmember Kochmar. I've seen a lot of applications and pre-application meetings come in for the unit lot subdivisions, which is precisely what Keith was pointing at. So there is interest. There's definitely interest. We also have a lot of applications for the attached dwelling units and detached dwelling units. So the interest is there. We also, at some point, will be talking a little bit more about capacity internally of handling all of these permits coming our way.
Sure, and I think one other thing that we should be also encouraging people to talk about is generational housing. You know, where like Allison was talking about, taking care of a adult special needs child. A lot of cultures, that's what they do. They have 3 generations in one house. They do that back east. They do that in the New York area. It just makes sense. And so I don't see why we couldn't be leaders in that kind of an idea here. But anyway, just a thought.
All right. Okay, so we don't have any more public comment? Okay, and any more questions for Holly? All right. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 932 Ordinance Co-Living Housing Code Amendment, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, relating to co-living housing, amending Federal Way Revised Code 1905-040 and 1905-190, and adding new sections as described in the written title.
All right. Councilmember Walsh, do you have a motion?
I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the March 3, 2026 council meeting for second reading and enactment.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously for first reading, on to second. All right, now council reports. The second meeting of the month will start at the other end of the dais. Councilmember Kochmar.
Well, I think that maybe Council President Honda will talk about this, but I do think we need to have some kind of a retreat or some kind of a, for our council to talk about, you know, how to work together and how to move forward together and be successful. We aren't all going to agree, but we all have to work together and figure out how to work on behalf of our community. All 100,000 individuals. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Sessoms.
I would actually agree with you, Councilmember Kochmar, that it will be necessary for us to get together and learn leadership styles and different communication styles. It's going to be imperative for us to get through all of this business. I'm sure our community is going to continue to have high expectations of us, and I don't want to see any of us fail as a city. So I am committed to working with everyone on the council. I will continue to support my friend, Councilmember Moore, in his endeavor to be a leader. I applaud you. So with that said, I have been meeting with various members of the Arts Commission. I see a few members out there in the audience. I want to thank you very much for your support. I will continue meeting with other members of the Arts Commission. I also want to give everyone encouragement to go out there and look up a bit of Black history. This is Black History Month, and we will need encouragement and, education as we move forward. I've received a few emails, quite surprising, eyebrow-raising emails in regards to Black history that I would characterize as very suspect. So I would encourage those individuals to dive deep into Black history. It's rich, it's lustrous, and it's informative.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, Councilmember Walsh?
Yeah, I reiterate what the others have said. I think that we need to, there's been some contention. I believe that we need to work on learning to, when we disagree, to still be agreeable. I firmly believe that we can disagree without being disagreeable, and we need to work on that. And I certainly do not hold hard feelings against anyone here on the dais or or in the room here. And I think that we need to be examples of civility in all that we do. And other than that, I don't have any further report. I look forward to the coming weeks.
Great, thank you very much. Councilmember Hamilton.
I was able to attend quite a few community events this week. Cadoba's ribbon cutting event, fantastic new restaurant, and also got a briefing on the Sound Transit movement that we've got going on in the city, and the Steel Lake Block Watch. That was great. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Chief, and your team for coming out. Tonight, though, I want to take a moment to just address an official public statement that I read online that characterized myself and colleagues on this dais as decades removed from our lived experience. I can't speak for anybody else on this dais, but I can speak for myself, and I'm a survivor of horrific childhood abuse that went on for years and years and years and resulted in the incarceration of a parent after having to endure forensic interviews, forensic physical exams called SAFE. And that parent went on to reoffend when he was let out because there was no protection order in place for me. So that's my lived experience. I live it daily. I carry it with me every single day of my life. I'm not distant from my lived experience. And my lived experience is why I fight so hard for crime victims and their families, why I push back against policy that favors offenders and criminals over victims. Disagreements over this on this dais are going to happen, and we're going to have to make tough calls sometimes. But our disagreements should never devolve into questioning one another's lived experiences. We debate decisions and policies, not one another's personal experiences. So I felt like I needed to say that. Council President Honda, I look forward to working with you. We have a lot of things we need to work on in this city. We have a downtown core that needs revitalizing. We have a major employer that's leaving, Wild Waves, taking with it 800 jobs. Jobs, many are held by our youth, so they're losing that opportunity. We need to think about job creation. We need to think about homelessness. That's a big issue in our community. We need to create pathways for the day center to move over to the Red Lion so that they can do the work that they do in a better, more efficient way. We have food insecurity issues that we need to work on. And Council President Honda has been very instrumental in food insecurity with the senior food voucher program. So I look forward to working with all of my colleagues, and I mean that wholeheartedly, all of my colleagues, because our residents deserve a functional city council that's centered on city governance and working together. I hope we can heal from this. I believe we can. And with that, Mayor, I conclude my report.
Thank you. Councilor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to the folks that came out and advocated on both sides. I think there's always something to be learned, even if I disagree. But I in particular want to thank the folks that came out in support of me retaining my position as council president, which obviously did not occur. But I want to say thank you. I've gotten hundreds of emails. I've gotten, I shouldn't say hundreds, but a lot of emails. And I've gotten a lot of just connections with folks. And I just want to say thank you. If we're going to talk about lived experiences, I'm going to talk about my lived experience. Being an immigrant from Bulgaria, coming here and seeing what ICE is doing is horrific, absolutely horrific. And it's coming to Federal Way. And as elected officials, it's not our job just to be tunnel visioned and only right here and work on these issues. Our job is to listen to people, show compassion, show empathy. And for our students to walk away from our meeting wondering if we heard them, that's something. You know, and so I urge any elected officials to take the time to listen and to be present in the moment and not discount what our youth are saying. And people may think that we have nothing to do with federal issues. We can listen. And there are things we can do. We see it all over the United States, what local governments are doing to stand up against something that is evil, against something that is acting without guardrails, and I'm not going to ignore it. I was elected to do a job, and it's to listen to everybody. And no one has ever stated that we're not going to be focusing on local issues. Of course we're going to be focusing on local issues, but our job is to listen and show empathy and let people know that I hear you. And to those I disagree with, yeah, I hear you. I want to acknowledge that. And obviously accountability was had. But I'm going to continue to do my job. I'm going to continue to uplift all voices. I'm going to uplift our youth's voices because that's what got me to run for office. That's what got me interested in politics. Because I didn't think our elected officials heard our youth enough. And so I'm going to be the one that shows that empathy and shows that compassion. And you know what? We do have to rebuild trust on this council because a lot of hurt was happened. A lot of misstatements have been had and have been stated. And I don't know how we move forward with that. I don't know because trust was broken. And I can only hope that I can utilize my faith to rebuild that trust. Because we do owe it to the public of us having to work for the people and to get stuff done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Councilmember Sefa-Dawson.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for sharing, and thank you, Melissa, for being vulnerable and for sharing your story.
I had a lot on my notes, but I think some of it was already stated, so I'm not going to rehash the issue. But one thing that I also added here is I was thinking about our week and how things have been and all the emails that we were receiving from the public as well as what's been going on. A word that came to me and that I wanted to share was around healing, and I think we need healing. So trust was brought up, but I think, Mayor, it would be great, as it's been stated, and that's what I had here, maybe get a mediator, but we have a lot of work to do. We're going to be talking about budget coming soon, and I know everybody says this is a nonpartisan council, but we all do know that it's not. It is partisan at the end of the day. So I think we need to really come together and understand what that's like, but healing has to happen. I mean, we're broken right now, and it pains me to know that we're so divided, the public and those of us on the dais. So please, let's focus on that. It was already stated. I think we all agree that we need a time to just focus on us and see how we can come back and realize why we're on this dais, why we're on the council, and work together. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, Council President Honda.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilmember Hamilton for sharing. I'm sorry that you felt you had to do that, and that took a lot of courage to do that. Now, to go to city, what happened last week, there were 3 of us that attended the Cordoba restaurant ribbon cutting. I wanted to mention it since the mayor mentioned the ribbon cutting that he had been at. They are located over by the McDonald's and Starbucks across from Costco. They used to be on 320th, where the big Starbucks is, and they left that location in 2019 when the building was closed and have been looking ever since for a location, and they're very happy in their new location. But Councilmembers Kuchmar, Hamilton, and myself attended the ribbon cutting last Friday. Today is Lunar New Year. February 17th, 2026, the Year of the Horse. The fire horse zodiac is known for its dynamic and independent spirit, bringing a year filled with passion, with drive, and the momentum to chase your dreams. So to those in our community who celebrate this, Happy Lunar New Year to you and to all those who celebrate. As to a retreat, our council rules clearly state that we can have a second retreat. I have talked with the mayor. I've already reached out to Sound Cities Association to ask if they have a facilitator who would be able to help us, because this won't be a retreat where we're talking to our directors. This is a retreat for the council. The mayor is, of course, welcome to attend if he so chooses, but this will be a retreat where the council learns to team build, to rebuild relationships, to set goals, and to learn to work together again. I've been on the council for a while, and I remember nights when I voted against things. Like I voted against the PAC. And after I voted against the PAC, 6 council members stood on the dais and took a picture, but they wouldn't let me be in it because I didn't vote for the PAC. I didn't hold that against them. We continued to work. I voted against other things that even the mayor got angry with me about. But we continued to work.
I was there.
Actually, I did, but we'll keep moving. Other people have voted against things that you kind of have to wonder about. But you know what? At the end of the day, we have always come together and we've always worked for the people of Federal Way. And I know that this will happen again, but we will have a retreat. I need to figure out from you guys what you want. Please send that to Amy and to me, what you specifically want. Be very specific as to what you want. We will find a facilitator, someone who has experience in this, and we will move forward. We have a very, very busy year ahead of us. And whenever it is a budget year, because you're going to hear that a lot, a budget year. For the new council members, we have a ton of extra meetings, starting in September, October. We have extra meetings, but we still have to do the work that we normally have to do. So we need to be focused, we need to be ready to meet this head on, and I know that we will, because I know that we are professional. We were elected to do a job, and we will move on and work with each other. And I don't know all of you very well, but those that I do know better than others, I know that I'm not asking a lot. I know that you've done it before, and that we will do what we need to do. We need to be thoughtful, we need to be courteous to each other, and we need to be willing to listen to each other. So what I would ask for you is you tell me how you want me to communicate with you. Do you want me to communicate by text, by phone, by email? Because not everyone always responds. And communication is key, and we will communicate, I will communicate with you however you want me to communicate with you, but I need to know that. And Amy might already know it, I don't know it, so please let me know. I'm thinking that maybe we could do a council newsletter monthly, that, the mayor has his weekly newsletter, but council isn't included in that. I think that council, as a body of 7 elected officials, we should be able to do a newsletter monthly. I'd like to do our coffee times again that we've done with the community. I'd like to start meeting with the school board again. We had 3 council members, 2 school board members. I'd like to start that again. And Mayor, you did promise a community meeting, and we need to work on that.
That's right, that's right.
So-
And it's not going to be just about
Right.
the ICE issue. It'll be, as you and I discussed, it'll be a town hall meeting. We haven't had a town hall meeting for a while. We'll have an opportunity to talk about quite a number of things. We'll have all the directors there, all the council will be there, hopefully, and we'll pick a place and a time and make sure that everybody gets heard.
You know, Mayor, I mean, you could have just one, but we used to have them at different
Yeah.
sections of the community.
That's right. And there's just been, as you know, quite a lot going on. So we'll also get that set up.
So I'm hoping we can do the second retreat sometime in April. March is going to be pretty busy for us, and I'm sure that to plan it well and to get the most out of it, I think maybe April. But as soon as I find a facilitator, we'll find out when the facilitator has time available, and we'll let you all know. And of course, the public is welcome to attend. We don't ever have a meeting without the public invited, so you're all welcome to attend. And now to my last item I'd like to talk about, and I talk about this every year. And this year means a little bit more to me to be talking about it. Every February 19th, we observe the Day of Remembrance, marking the anniversary of Executive Order 9066. In 1942, this order fundamentally altered the fabric of American democracy, leading to the forced removal and incarceration of over 125,000 individuals of Japanese descent. For my family, this should be a required chapter taught in U.S. history, and it's not. My son, when he was a junior at Decatur, had to teach this to his class. And only those in his class got the opportunity to learn about it, unfortunately. My father-in-law, Harry Honda, and my mother-in-law, Charlene Koinagi, were among those whose lives were uprooted. Harry's parents immigrated from Japan and had worked to become naturalized citizens. Charlene's father was born in Fife, Washington, and her mother was born in Hawaii on the sugar plantations. Harry and Charlene were American citizens by birth, and yet in 1942, their citizenship and their parents' naturalization was ignored. The cost of this injustice was immense. The Hondas lost their family farm in Fresno. It's now where downtown Fresno is. It was a dream, an American dream, that they had to own their own property. The Koinagis lost their family home in Long Beach, the place where they felt the most secure. The Honda and Koinagi families were rounded up and detained in assembly centers at the Fresno County Fairgrounds and the Santa Anita racetrack. Charlene talks about sleeping in a horse stall. She was the oldest of 4 children, so 6 people were in this tiny horse stall sleeping on hay. In October 1942, they were transported far from their homes, eventually being held behind barbed wire in the swamplands of Jerome and Rohr, Arkansas. They were stripped of their property, their privacy, and their freedom, yet they maintained their dignity under the most dehumanizing conditions. We honor their strength and the strength of all those who endured the camps. We tell their stories not to dwell on the bitterness of the past, but to serve as a reminder against future injustices. The Puyallup Fairgrounds was used as an assembly center to detain over 75,000 Japanese Americans from this area and from Alaska from April through September 1942. From there, they were moved inland to internment camps for the duration of the war. I grew up here. I studied Northwest history. I never knew there was a camp down in Puyallup. Camp Harmony, it was called. I never knew that. This Saturday, February 21st at 10 a.m., there will be a celebration of the Day of Remembrance in the Expo Hall at the Washington State Fairgrounds. Discussions with survivors of the camps. There will be art exhibitions and a tour of the Remembrance Gallery, which is a display of what the camp looked like. There'll be stories, photos, and the wall of names who were detained in Camp Harmony. If you haven't seen it, it's I don't want to say pretty cool, but it is kind of cool. Parking is in the Gold Lot and admission is free. This year, so I've been accused of not understanding the fear that our students have. I've been accused of supporting ICE, and I've been accused of a lot of other things this last week. My mother-in-law was 10 years old when she was pulled out of her house by FBI agents because her uncle had a business in California and in Japan, and so therefore he had to be a spy, right? So she was pulled away from her parents, taken by the FBI outside, and she had no idea what was going on. She was 10 years old. She had recently been called, right before that, a Jap, and she didn't know what that meant. And she'd been told by a schoolmate that they would gorge her eyes out if she ever came back to school. So she never went back. She has dementia now. She just turned 94 last week on Super Bowl Sunday. And if you know anything about dementia, you know that their memory, as they lose their memory, goes back to their childhood. So we're hearing a lot of stories of camp, things that she's never talked about before. I can understand her fear because she's still afraid. She's told me several times about being called a Jap and how scared she was to go to school. When she left her house, she carried a doll. It was in a suitcase. You had to be able to carry a suitcase. She had 3 little brothers, and 2 of them couldn't carry a suitcase. So for a family of 6, they had 4 suitcases. They left everything they owned in that house. But of course, their neighbors are going to keep everything safe for them. Yeah, right. Their neighbors took everything they had, as happened all over the country. I don't want our students to be afraid, but I want them to get accurate information, and I don't think that's happening. So whatever we say and do, let's get accurate information out. What happened to the Japanese Americans can never happen again. If you're even interested in what happened, there are still survivors. They're in their 90s, some are older than that. Some have really good memories, and some are like Charlene, and they have some dementia. There are not very many left. That was a long time ago. So if you're even remotely interested in learning what it was like to be stripped of all of your rights as an American citizen, to have everything taken away from you, and to live with that, their entire life she's lived with this. You still have a chance to talk to somebody. So if you're really interested, you still do have a chance to talk with somebody, and we can put you in contact with survivors if you're really interested. But anyway, I would invite you to come down to the Puyallup Fair on Saturday. It's a beautiful ceremony. The survivors that come are honored as they should be. I'm sure this year we'll be talking about ICE and what's happening and the similarities. And so you'll learn a lot, and I would welcome you to come. If you want any more information, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you for those words. With that, everyone, we're adjourned. Thank you.